said, guys, this is going to be a likely top on Bitcoin, and I'll show you guys why.
Bitcoin Zella stands out with its simplicity and clarity. We've crafted an experience that anyone can dive into, whether you're a crypto expert or just a new to the crypto world. Now guess who keeps his eye on us? The author of best-selling book Rich Dad Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki. And we want to take this opportunity and thank all the people who trusted us, and we read every comment. And the best part, it's free. Subscribing now means you will get all new information for free. Don't just follow the trends, stay ahead of them. Subscribe to Bitcoin Zella today and enjoy the new edge. Gareth Soloway talks about Bitcoin and the crypto drop, where it's heading, why it's happening, and what to expect next. Will the crash continue or is a bounce coming? Let's dive in.
Take a look at some other asset classes first, and then we'll compare asset classes at the end of the interview. Gareth, I know people like to get your outlook for the best and worst assets for the year, or the semester, or the quarter, whatever you want to call it. Bitcoin first. Now, Bitcoin has breached $100,000 couple of months ago, as you're aware, actually around the same time that we spoke last. And I think the question is whether or not Bitcoin is just following the NASDAQ or it's waiting for something else, because like the stock market indices that we've just talked about, Bitcoin has also traded sideways and range-bound for a couple of months now.
Right. And so last time I was on was in early December. We were right over here rallying up into 108,000. And I said, guys, this is going to be a likely top on Bitcoin. And I'll show you guys why real quick, because I think it's important to revisit these stats. So if we take a look at this chart on Bitcoin and we go to a bigger time frame, this is the weekly time frame going back to the bullish high, the bull market high in 2017. Notice this trend line connects perfectly through the highs of 2021, both of them. And then it actually has the low of a parallel go right through the lows of the bear market here as well. Well, lo and behold, look at what we hit right there after our last discussion in mid-December. And sure enough, you can see it came down, it retested, got rejected again by this major trend line, and is now starting to break down, which is really, if you look at this, it's either repeating this, which was a big correction from 65,000 to 30,000, or, God forbid, right? For those of us that are in Bitcoin, it's starting to do a bigger bear market to the downside that could be much nastier. Now, we don't know which one it is right now here, which is it this down move before this next big move up or a much bigger bear market. But that was really what I was looking at in last December when we talking about how technicals were telling us Bitcoin was likely to be at a top. Now, if we flip over to our other Bitcoin chart here, we'll look at the one on Coinbase. This is a short-term daily chart. And what we can see is you had a double top on Bitcoin here. It retested and pierced right there. And then you had this trend line right through the lows. Well, now this has broken, and that tells me that we are likely headed lower on Bitcoin with bounces along the way, but you're going to likely head back to this 73, 74,000 level, which again would be major technical support. So I'm basically sitting on the sidelines looking for Bitcoin to get back to 73, 74, 75, and then I'll start nibbling a little bit at that level.
73 divided by where we're currently at right now, which is 86. Yeah, we've had a huge correction in Bitcoin since the basically beginning of last week. Anyway, that's about a 15% decline. I mean, for Bitcoin, that's not a huge downside. In fact, Bitcoin has moved 10, 15% in the day before. So I don't says that you're super bearish on Bitcoin because you're going to 76,000. You're not saying it's going back to 30,000.
No, at this point, I'm not saying that. So let's, yeah, for sure, I'm not going that far. I still am a big believer in the long-term viability of Bitcoin as a digital gold. But one of the things that is always something that I fight with some hardcore Bitcoiners and hodlers is that people want to say, oh, it doesn't have anything to do with the stock market and risk on and risk off. And in reality, it's very clear. Stock market's tanking the last couple of days. Bitcoin's tanking the last couple of days. Because when people get scared, they don't care what assets they're in. They're just getting scared, and they react by selling Bitcoin or stocks. Doesn't really matter. Now, longer term, do I think that the Doge team in the government is actually going to really cut significant amounts of money from the U.S. debt? No, I don't believe that. So I think that there's a viability towards having an alternative to the U.S. dollar or to fiat currencies. That's where Bitcoin comes in. So for me, it's never an all in or all out. It's a kind of a, let's buy a little around 75. If it goes to 50, I'll buy some more, kind of doing like that and accumulating. But I for one, would be a buyer, at least as a swing trade around 75.
Bitcoin's recent breach below $90,000 has left traders wondering if the price is poised for another crash. On February 26, the cryptocurrency dipped to $89,000, echoing the sentiment that downward pressure may persist. Signs of weakening demand are surfacing, with data showing that apparent demand, the difference between mining issuance and long-term supply changes, turned negative for the first time since September 2024. This signals a reduction in short-term retail interest and raises concerns about Bitcoin's resilience in the days ahead. Previous dips in apparent demand have sometimes created prime buying opportunities, as seen in mid-January 2024 and late October 2025, when prices rebounded with substantial gains. Still, caution remains warranted because the broader economic backdrop suggests diminishing macro liquidity. If the cryptocurrency fails to find support around the $85,000 to $87,000 range, it may test liquidity below these levels. Moreover, analysts are keeping an eye on the unfilled CME gap between $77,000 and $80,000, which aligns with crucial support near the 100-day simple moving average. A potential drop toward $80,000 could invite renewed buyer interest, given that the short-term holder cost basis stands near $91,600. Historically, when Bitcoin ventured close to a 15% discount from this metric, strong rebounds followed. Nevertheless, the market remains sensitive to shifting sentiments, and ongoing volatility could unsettle investors. While a deeper pullback is possible, such moves have also paved the way for robust price recoveries. Whether this is a final dip or a sign of more trouble remains an open question.
So we've had a string of these weaker consumer confidence numbers, concerns about inflation, which is now pulling the consumer back, worries about tariffs, about new stuff in the government. And I mean, think about it like this, is that as a lot of us might be a fan of cutting, kind of irrational spending in the government, but there's millions of government employees that are now saying, wait, I better not go spend some money because I don't know if I'm going to have a job. Well, guess what? That has an impact on the U.S. economy, and ultimately we're seeing it here. But I think what's important to note here, David, is if we look at the 10-year yield, it used to be that when the 10-year yield would come down, the stock market would rally. It would say, oh, cheap money, this is great, the U.S. economy is strong, so cheaper money is a benefit. Now we're seeing, the U.S. economy is weakening, so that is why yields are going down. And weakening economy means lower profits from these big players out there that drive the S&P, and that's why we're seeing the stock market coming in sharply.
And it's interesting how tariff news, which has been ongoing, hasn't really moved the market to the downside dramatically until maybe now. Arguably, whether or not today's big drop had to do with the fact that Trump just said we're going ahead with tariffs on Canada and Mexico next month. I know it's been delayed for a month, but now that month is almost over. You think maybe now the roosters come to crow, so to speak, on the tariffs factoring in, or the market's factoring in tariffs, rather?
I do, and I think the reason why it hadn't had a bigger impact previously is because the market is so used to now Trump threatening something as a bargaining tool and then backing off once he gets a little bit of a give from the other party, that people didn't really think, oh, well, these tariffs probably won't ever come into play. It's looking more and more like they will, and therefore the market is now saying, okay, we have to factor this in as fact now, not as just a bargaining tool.
Shares of Strategy, formerly MicroStrategy, have plummeted 16% from the start of the year, reflecting the toll that Bitcoin's price correction has taken on the technology firm's market performance. The company's approach to raising capital and purchasing Bitcoin has raised doubts among market observers. It leaves doubt over its ability to weather volatility if liabilities continue to rise relative to assets. The recent slip in Bitcoin's value to around $88,000 heightened concerns after Strategy accumulated a sizable treasury of the cryptocurrency at a cost basis. Despite the downturn, analysts at Benchmark remain optimistic, citing the strength of Strategy's plan to expand its holdings and generate Bitcoin yield. They expect the firm to maintain aggressive capital raises, which could bolster its capacity to secure new Bitcoin acquisitions in the long run. According to data from MSTR Tracker, the company financed its billions in BTC purchases with a mix of stock issuance and convertible debt, most of which matures after 2027. This time frame offers Strategy a buffer should Bitcoin remain under pressure temporarily. The stock is down 50% from its all-time highs, echoing the cryptocurrency's broader market struggles. Investors in Bitcoin's potential may see this moment as a chance for renewed accumulation. If you've been with us so far, a big thank you. Don't forget to subscribe for free to Bitcoin Zella for your daily news. The link is waiting below. That's all for today's crypto news. Stick around for more updates, insights, and analysis on cryptocurrencies. Share your thoughts in the comments, like this video, and subscribe for more exciting content.